Hey YouTube, Ryu here. Just went ahead and I'm uploading the video that, well, as far as where you're coming from, I've already released that other video before this one. But I was thinking about it, and when I was talking about how technology is advanced, and how different specs for different things, I also ended up bringing up one thing inadvertently, and that is game optimization. And that's actually gotten me to the point where now I'm looking at, I'm looking at why we're needing such powerful systems. I mean, obviously, advanced graphics, are going to take more power. Yes, that's true. But the thing is when you look at it, you can tell the difference between a fully optimized game and a game that's got subpar optimization. One way of checking that is if you look into mods for a game, if there's a bunch of optimization mods for it, more than likely the game's pretty shitty as far as optimization is concerned. Now remember, these games are made by people who have made it their job to make video games. And when you go ahead and you make something, you try to get it to be the best that it can be. You don't want to sit there and put out subpar product. And this gets more and more true with AAA companies like EA and Activision, Microsoft, whatever. But I look at these games and they're so unoptimized. I mean, especially on the PC. Like, they're fairly optimized on console. But there's almost no optimization on PC, at least not for the first bit of the game being out. And then they release patches and they shore up the optimization as they go. Why? I mean, I understand with PC, there's a bunch of different hardware that you have to consider, a bunch of different architectures, so on, so forth, yada, yada, yada. But a lot of these optimization issues don't come down to architecture. They don't come down to oh, well, we didn't, there's a quirk in this piece of hardware. It doesn't come down to that. It comes down to straight up sloppy or lazy programming. Now, I understand programming is a monumental task. I get it. I've started delving into programming. Hopefully one day before I die, I'm able to go ahead, make a video game, get that first-hand experience. Not going to be anytime soon. Because I'm looking at programming as more of a hobby, and I'm not looking at it as a career. You might notice a pattern with me on this. But when you go ahead and you start doing programming, one of the things that I've seen in pretty much all of the lessons, guides, tutorials, and so on and so forth, relatively towards the beginning, they talk about memory allocation and memory cleanup. So then I decided, all right, you know what, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take these mods, I'm going to break them down, look at their code, see what the hell's going on. How are they optimizing this? And the vast majority of it is memory optimization, whether it be virtual memory, so RAM, or whether it be actual memory on your hard drive, actual storage space, as well as ease of access, so the organization of the memory files in the tree. Now, I can understand that with an indie development company. Maybe it's their first game, maybe it's even their second game. They don't have the most experience with programming. Okay, I get it. I give them a little bit of leeway. But with AAA companies, that is inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. I mean, hell, The Sims 4, it had a really hard time of it when it came to memory. Sims 3, again, another one. Maxis knew what the hell they were doing. They had been doing it for a while. So why is it that games have become less optimized upon release? Well, it's because of more accessible internet, and so that means these companies figure, oh, we can go ahead, release the game in this broken, buggy state as it is. Yeah, it might fuck up the computers temporarily, but we'll go ahead, release patches and fix it, and it'll all be good. But we need our money now. And us as gamers, we're partly to blame on that, because whenever, a company sits there and goes, look, we're having to delay the release because we need to address these bugs, or we need to address some issues, so on and so forth, all of a sudden, the people that have been waiting for it are, oh my god, what the fuck, blah, 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 that sort of thing. And you don't see a whole lot of people going, hey, at least, they're trying to give us a finished product as opposed to what they typically give us, So these companies learn, hey, it's better to do this because more people are going to get pissed off. But that's not entirely their fault, because the thing is those of us who would prefer to wait end up being silent. Now, when I look at that, I'm also like, okay, you know what? Hype trains have a bit to do with that. Whenever they sit there and they announce a game 2 years before it's supposed to be released, and they're constantly trickle feeding a little bit of information, keeping people's appetite whetted, and just building up this hype, and then have to say, oh, well, we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and delay the release. Well, we end up with a big problem now, don't we? But then again, it's not always a good thing as well. And Mighty Number 9, perfect example with that. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Mighty Number 9 was a complete and total turd. When I say it's not a complete and total turd, it was playable. It wasn't the funnest thing ever, no, but I'm also not a huge Mega Man fan, so there's that. But as far as the game goes, it's a pretty solid game. The story's a little contrived, but hey, whatever. Like I said, not a fan of Mega Man, so of course the story's not going to have as much weight with me. But when they delayed it, they put out all these things where, they had these really darkish graphics and, more of that smooth, fine, and polished, refined, polished, so on and so forth. And then what did we get? Oh, we got Super Bloom. We got really amateurish graphics, and I was sitting there, I'm like, why in the fuck would they do that? Well, I know that doing those more gritty graphics takes a little bit more graphical prowess, but it takes more optimization. You have to clear out that shit out of the memory, whereas with the stuff that they ended up going with, doesn't require as much memory cleanup. It also doesn't require as much memory loading. So, here's the problem. Did they go ahead and delay the game to dumb it down? I say yes, because they weren't willing to go ahead and shore up the code. And they had already delayed it several times because of multiple issues. But honestly, Mighty Number 9 was just a giant shit show to begin with. Let's just go ahead and be completely honest there. It was a shit show. But it also perfectly highlights what's going on with the actual programming aspect of video games. They're looking to get those sales. They're looking to put in the minimum amount of effort before they get their money, and then go ahead and fix up the stuff as an afterthought. Whereas with any other thing, you don't have that option. Now, we need to really discuss that. As a community, we need to discuss it, because how long are we going to be okay with this? How far are we going to allow them to push that envelope? I mean, it's only a matter of time until someone throws out a joke game. Hell, I was thinking of it a couple years back, where I was all like, you know what? If I knew how to program, I'd go ahead, program an entire video game, sell the game on Steam or something like that, but then, for the first, week, have it to where the only thing that's actually loaded in is the fucking start button. And then the game crash. And then put out a patch and, bring out the whole game. But, I mean, just as a joke thing, of course it would have been released on April 1st. But I was thinking about it. I'm all like, you know what? If companies could get away with that, actually legitimately doing that, I honestly don't doubt that they would. Sit there, have it where their people go ahead, program the start menu, all that, and then go ahead and have it where, oh, well, we're going to go ahead and be programming it, and as we program it, we'll go ahead and bring it out, and then make you suffer through all the glitches and bugs and everything. I think enough is enough, and at this point, I've had enough. I'm not buying games when they first come out anymore, because I know that I'm not getting that full experience. Usually I'll wait a year or two to go ahead and buy a game, so I can go ahead and buy the the special edition later on, where it has all of the downloadable content. And I didn't have to buy the DLC separately. I got the entire game experience for the price of the game. What did I do? I sacrificed time. Because that was time that I could have been playing that game. But I'm playing other games during that time, so it's not really too much of a sacrifice. But the thing is I'm the absolute worst customer when it comes to video games now. I'm not one of these people that goes out, pre-orders games, not regularly anyway. I mean, I'll go ahead and I'll pre-order a physical copy of Pokemon just because I already know I'm going to buy it. Why the fuck not? And why not go ahead and go to the midnight release and have some fun? But when it comes to stuff like Call of Duty and all that, I look at it and I'm all like, there's so much shit that they've hacked out of the game, and the game's not even going to be optimized. I mean, hell, take a look at look at the Battlefield series. I mean, just as a whole, they've gotten into the point where it's all like their netcode is shit for the first few months. Again, that comes down to piss poor programming. And I'm not saying that the people there don't have the skill for it. I'm saying that they're not being allocated the time necessary. And it's a corner cutting tactic for these companies, that they're willing to sacrifice quality of product because they know that people are going to buy it anyway. And so they're willing to sacrifice the quality of the product out the gate and then wait until they're getting that constant cash flow to then go ahead and go, oh, all right, we're going to go ahead and bring up the quality now and get the quality up to where it should have been on release, just in time for us to release the next game. And I've noticed that pattern. I've taken a look at the patch times for these games, and usually when they finally get it nailed down, it's because in 2 months they're releasing a new game, and they want people to have that recent positive experience that will override the previous negative experience when they consider buying the next game. Kind of an ingenious tactic, but the thing is once someone sees it, it's one of those things. It's once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then you start seeing it in other areas. It's one of those weird things that you go through life without realizing until someone points it out to you, or until you just stumble across it yourself and go, huh, that's a weird pattern. Wonder if it repeats. And us as humans, we go after patterns. And so once we see it, then we're like, oh, well, fuck. So now this is a continuous thing. But when it comes to optimization, honestly, I think these video game companies have been hurt by the advance in technology, because now they've gotten to the point where they're getting exceedingly lazy when it comes to actual optimization of games. It's more of an afterthought. And again, I'm going to go ahead and pick on Ark, but it's because I love the game. They still have not optimized their fucking game. But they're adding more and more shit that people are bitching more and more and more about, because when they add more shit, that lack of optimization becomes a bigger and bigger problem. Are they releasing small optimizations? Yes, but they're keeping it in a functional state of disrepair. And so, I mean, their netcode needs work. Their actual client side and server side optimization, again, needs work. There's no excuse for it, and quite frankly, we need to just stop buying into it.